men or deserve less opportunities?
Because men are just better than women at almost everything. Now, with that said, now, on average IQs, men and women are fairly equal. But if we're going to go ahead and look at the people that, and I've talked about this earlier too, most retards tend to be men, but most geniuses also tend to be men. So we dominate the extremes on the positive and on the negative.
Okay, where is your evidence that most geniuses tend to be men? Are you sure it isn't just people like you trying to, not let women be in like the leadership jobs? Like
it's just a fact.
Earlier,
most geniuses are men.
No, but you said earlier that, men are natural leaders. And
yes.
Leadership is not something you're born with. It comes with your prefrontal cortex. Men and women have identical prefrontal cortexes.
Okay, so a component of leadership is strength. And unfortunately...
Physical strength,
yes,
sure.
that is a component of leadership because... Guess what? The monopoly of force, a lot of the times, is going to dictate. That's a heavy factor whether if you're going to be a leader or not.
Okay,
and
so
unfortunately, women don't have the monopoly of force. You guys have to use other men to go ahead and get your whim pushed forward.
If you think I'm trying to be in, a role in society that's moving society forward, because you said women don't do that either, that I have to physically fight other people to do that. You're talking about physical disadvantage.
Yes.
In terms of being a leader, like in the world and in jobs.
Well, that is an important component to being a leader. You do need to be physically capable to some degree. Every revolution,
but I'm talking about emotional.
Every revolution was led by men, not women, for a reason.
Yeah, because men didn't let women be part of it.
Thank God.
No, thank God.
Why do I want someone on the side of me that's going to be emotionally erratic, going to be weaker?
I disagree that women are more emotionally erratic. Like men throw. Sorry for cursing.
No, you're fine. You can swear, but there's emotional erraticness right there. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you've noticed,
emotional eradication
if you notice, all the women that if you notice, the guys, they quietly waited in line, but it was the women that screamed out, so triggered. Do you notice that earlier?
No, I noticed also plenty of men screaming out. You're making stuff up.
No, when they were waiting in line, it was the women that screamed out in line and just left, got pissed off.
Okay, and they may have had class or something. I was standing over there with a group of guys literally just screaming their heads off. I couldn't hear anything.
Well, I didn't hear them. And they weren't waiting in line like the women were.
Yeah, because you're using anecdotal evidence.
No, but I'm saying the women were waiting in line trying to talk, and then they just got frustrated and just screamed and walked out. None of the guys did that.
I've been the one waiting in line.
Sure.
I've seen plenty
You're not
of
a retard
men
like the other ones.
too. Okay, but you just said that men were more commonly...
The guys that were waiting in line is my point. None of the guys that were waiting in line were screaming out like idiots. The women were.
Okay, I was in line, and yes, they were.
Yes, and you were calm. I didn't hear them scream out like the women did.
Okay, I did. I'm in the line. Your anecdotal evidence doesn't even apply because you weren't even there. I don't know the point you're trying to make. What I'm trying to say is that women are not less intelligent than men and should deserve equal opportunities in the workplace and in everything. Like you said, when they're in school, they should prioritize having a family. Why doesn't that
Why should they deserve?
Well?
Why should they deserve? Why don't they earn?
They do earn, but
a lot of the times they don't.
Okay, sure.
We lower standards for them all the time, and that's the problem.
Physically, maybe, but I don't believe
that's a problem.
Okay, and I agree that women are physically less strong than men, and I concede that entirely. That is a true fact. But I don't think that has anything to do with whether or not women can be in certain jobs that aren't physical or be just as smart as men.
Look, are women capable of doing certain jobs alongside men at a high competency? Of course, but the majority can't.
And why
that's
do you
my
think
point.
That?
An average guy, right? An average guy is going to be significantly better than the top tier woman, or be competitive with the top tier woman, and that's my point.
Intellectually, because I highly disagree.
Well, physically,
physically, sure.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
That's the only thing you're going back to.
Okay, yeah, because that monopoly of force is super important, and women tend to forget about that. All the rights and all the privileges that you enjoy are because men are defending it, not women.
Okay, because, men were the only ones allowed to be in leadership positions when those rights were made. That's the whole point.
Even now, the rights that you enjoy are still enforced by men.
Yeah, because
women only have rights and privileges because they give them to you.
Saying that women shouldn't be allowed to enforce them.
Because they can't.
Because
they physically can't. See how it all comes back circle? Everything that you enjoy is by men.
I think you're talking in circles.
Because you don't make sense. Like, you're making the argument of like should, could, and woulds. I'm telling you what is. Women enjoy rights and privileges because men fight to defend them for you. But women don't have a monopoly on force, men do. So the society that you enjoy is propped up, created by, and protected by men, not women.
Okay, created by, because back then women weren't allowed to help create it because of people like you.
They still don't create anything. Despite the fact that they're more educated, they still don't create anything. Men are still the majority of inventors. Men are still building in the majority of the buildings. Men are still the majority of construction workers. They're majority of STEM. They're the majority of everything. So despite the fact that women are more educated and go to better schools and graduate at a higher rate, etc., men are still dominating a lot of these fields that keep society going.
Okay, if women are graduating more and getting more educated and yet men are still having these fields, I think you're proving my point.
Yeah, because women, here's the thing, because they go into stupid jobs. They get useless degrees.
They didn't do this
underwater
at the job
basket
interview.
weaving. Like, I guarantee you, if we looked at like what the women are majoring here, it's a bunch of dumb shit versus what a lot of the guys here are majoring in. Probably will help them get a job.
Okay,
because
well,
men
I'm glad
are held
that's
to
your guess,
here's the
but
reality.
I'd like to see your evidence.
Men are held to a way higher standard than women are when it comes to being an earner, and we have a proclivity to work harder than women do. This whole wage gap myth, it's a lie. Women earn less because they deserve less.
I do. Women do not deserve less, but
yes, they do.
Okay, we
they
are
earn less
because
they deserve less.
I think we can agree that we disagree, but thank you for debating.
That's fine. But on average, they take more vacation time, paternity leave, they work in jobs that are stupid, they don't have as much hours worked, they don't work as hard, and they don't go into fields that pay as much. That's just the reality. Women would rather be in an HR office somewhere firing a black guy for being an idiot than necessarily doing any real work.
Hi, Byron. I am here to talk about your perspectives on women in business and their role in like the corporate world.
In the corporate world? Okay.
Yes, and that specifically in business, because I'd like to use our own Darla Moore as an example of why women can create impact and change.
Who's Darla Moore?
Darla Moore is the founder and funder of our business school. She funded.
Is she a Jew?
What?
Can we look? Could somebody do an early life for me real quick? Okay. The homies over here.
So Darla Moore, I mean,
and then how'd she get her money? Did she get it through divorce or endowment? Or
no,
like,
she flipped businesses that were led by men and actually created them into an economic and prosperous business.
I wonder where she got her money.
Okay.
Because all the richest women typically get it through divorce or someone dying.
I'm not
going
to get rage baited by
That's
this,
fine.
but I'd also like to point out that that people like you are the reason why we don't prosper in terms of our GDP and our economic potential, because minority and women-owned businesses, if we actually gave them the resources and they weren't being constantly systematically challenged by people such as with your beliefs, they would contribute into $3.9 trillion. And also I'd like to go on to your point that women are too emotional. Can you give me more of like a reason on why you think that?
Well, women tend to be emotional. It is what it is. Like, there's a bunch of different reasons.
Why?
But let's
biologically. Give me a reason. What's the chemicals?
Let's go back real quick, because you made the whole comment about like women being more in business is a good thing or whatever. I mean, look, we can always like cherry pick and find examples of what it is. We can make the argument about Cracker Barrel, right? Like I said earlier, they changed their design because of a woman, and their stock went down like 50%. Or we could talk about Gillette.
That's because they pissed off a bunch of racists.
Oh, now it's a bunch of racists. What about people that just...
I mean, I've been to Cracker Barrel. That doesn't make me a racist, but a lot of people think it's a woke agenda. Maybe that was just more of a marketing or a consumer choice.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, people are just tired of the woke agenda is my point. So this stupid woman with glasses decided, let's go ahead and change the legacy logo and make it more, not a guy standing there.
Do you agree or do you not agree that there is potential economically for not just the business world, but for the United States, if we let these women in business have resources, if we let them in these leadership positions? Because I just gave you the analytics. I gave you the data.
See, you gave an example of one person, and I'm telling you, well, here's another woman in a position of power.
I'm saying that if we
here's another woman in a position of power that made their stock
go
down like 50%. Or Gillette, how they had that stupid masculinity commercial, which a woman went ahead and led that one, by the way, and they lost billions of dollars as well. Because the woke agenda tends to appeal more to feminist mindset, because women want to go ahead and equalize everything for everybody. And now you're talking about GDP.
Give me an example of unequalized.
China is growing faster than everybody else, and guess what? Women are second-class citizens. So if we go ahead and continue to allow women to be, have this egalitarian society where everyone is equal, and we're going to keep pushing porn and women being whores and pushing for education, China's going to overlap us.
Why do you label every woman as
I didn't say every.
But that's like your main point when you make arguments in terms of this is why women need to be in these subjected positions. They need to be in assistant positions because I feel like you need to diversify your perspective more into that women, like, for example, like, I don't go out and party every night, okay?
But a lot do.
Okay, but that doesn't mean, that's not everyone. And just because you think you can take away resources, and what?
Well, being is bad.
Okay, can I ask, are you in a relationship? No, you're not.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything.
Okay.
I'm a professional womanizer.
Anyway, let's go on to let's go back to the women who can lead in corporate positions.
You brought up the whole thing. You brought up the whole idea of like, oh yeah, we need to put more women in business, blah blah.
We do, but we have people like you who think that the hormonal cycle can influence the changes that we want to make in companies or just our decision-making process. But that's not true.
Yeah, well, it's not just
by
that.
your
it's
logic.
Not just that. I think again, putting women in just because they're women and like we care about women's opinions is the problem. Look,
I'm not talking about DEI. I'm talking about women who can work for what they do.
But if we got a female that's competent that can actually contribute, great. But the problem is that we don't put women in positions because they're competent. We put them because we want some tits in the room. So that's the problem. And the other issue also is that if we're going to go ahead and talk about like GDP or whatever, like I said before, China's our biggest competitor. We need to stop wasting time defending the Jews and focus on China.
And we could do that if we actually funded businesses that were led by minorities or women.
Is because they don't give a fuck what women think. Okay, that is why China's growing at an exponential rate.
And this is why we could actually be number one in the world if we didn't have people like you constantly.
This is why Asia is doing pretty damn well with innovation because they tell women to shut up.
Okay, and I like I said, I just gave you the statistics of if we didn't tell women to just shut up and stay in their place. But I'm curious on like why do you biologically think that women are only good for sandwiches, birth giving, being quiet in the corner of like a corporate environment? Like why?
I think that's what they're good at. I think all the guys know what to do.
Why? You don't have any biologically, yes, men are stronger and obviously I can't fight
and better
one
than
of those
everything
dudes,
else pretty much.
But in terms of like your justification is because they're more emotional. And I'm guessing that because that comes from like what? That's what my question is. Why do you think that? Not from just like your ideology that women can't do certain things because they're women.
I'm just going off biology that men are better than women at almost everything. It's just the truth.
But you can't give me a reason why, I just gave it to you. At debating.
It's
you can't even give me actual facts.
The truth is the truth.
Like, there's no truth because you haven't backed it up by data or analytics.
Okay, how about this one? Do 20 push-ups right now.
I'm not.
Okay,
no,
exactly. That's my point.
That's irrelevant.
That's my point. You can't even do 20 push-ups, and most women can't.
What does that have to do with what I can do in a business
because the fact that you can't do 20 push-ups.
How many do you do?
Hold on, it builds upon itself. So here's the thing: the fact that you can't do 20 push-ups.
I can do. No, they don't, which means it's irrelevant to our debate.
See, this is the problem, right? Women aren't able to like come to logical conclusions after like starting somewhere. So let me go ahead and help you here. Let's start from the beginning. The fact that you can't do 20 push-ups means you're physically inferior. The fact that you're physically inferior means that someone has to protect you from the people that are physically superior.
I understand.
That's a man. So the man has to protect you to be able to go ahead and say the dumb shit that you're saying right now because you can't even defend your positions physically at all. That's my point.
Not justified, nor is it
monopoly of force runs society.
You're not giving me a justification on like but I asked you, why do you think, not because of push-ups. I don't know why you're laughing. I don't know why you're laughing because just because I can't do 20 push-ups doesn't make me a productive worker in any type of like workforce.
Well, here's the point. I'd rather hire a dude that can do the 20 push-ups and be just as productive as you. Bam. There we go.
Okay. Come do 20 push-ups, girl. Come on, what's this? For a different reason, but I can't do 20 push-ups. Anyway, but I think like the whole we should.
Look, again, I'm going off a biological fact. I think men and women aren't equal.
But I think like when you say biological fact, you're not exactly. You're giving me like in terms of like strength, muscle definition, etc.
Yeah, that's all
we
fact.
All know that's a basic. Like, of course, I know that I'm not going to be like whatever his name over there is, who can't even apparently do push-ups. But like, I know he's probably stronger than me by weight, clearly. But I'm just saying, like, well, oh don't even get me. You're misogynistic. Anyways, all I'm saying is that, honestly, I don't care. Like, I mean, bro's telling me to do push-ups. Why can't he do push-ups? Why can't you do the push-ups? You're the one asking me to do push-ups. Anyways, I hope that I'm not about to get. I'm not really. It's hard to like kind of rage bait me right now, but I'm not exactly rage baited. He hasn't even like proven my point, and neither can any of you.
All right, who's up next?
All right, thank you.
All right. Oh shit, the Jew's back. And we're not live on YouTube, so we can say what the fuck we want to say now.
So,
I didn't know that we weren't live, so we're like pre-recording. What's up?
Yeah, so if the Hannibal directive was actually being practiced by the IDF, then how come every single Israeli hostage in Gaza hasn't been found dead or alive?
Why have they been found dead or alive?
No, why haven't they by the IDF?
Yes.
Then how come every single hostage right now in Gaza hasn't been found dead or alive? Because if the Hannibal directive says we'll do it by any means possible to free a captive IDF soldier or citizen,
yes,
then how come every single Hamas captive hasn't been rescued regardless if they're dead or alive?
Okay, so before I answer this, I'm glad that you did your research and figured out that the IDF kills their own, right, to prevent them being taken so they don't have to deal with hostages. So here's the thing, bro.
That's not even what the Hannibal directive
That's what it is.
said. No, it's not.
Did you even read it?
It basically says that the Hannibal directive says it would not purposely kill their own, but it says it will go by any means possible,
which means killing their own,
which could put the captive at risk. But what I'm saying is they haven't, because when I say they haven't, because we have not found every single hostage. We know where every single hostage.
Because here's the thing,
every single hostage is.
It's because obviously Hamas was successful and successfully kidnapped some of them. That's why.
Oh, so they did
killed
October 7th.
others.
So Hamas did October 7th, not the IDF, because that's what you told me 30 minutes ago. That's what you told me 30 minutes ago. Dude, come here. Here. I have something to show you. Come here.
So here's the thing. I'm not going to go over there. So let me just go ahead and address this, because I can't believe that you're this dense. Yeah, we're going to go ahead. Yeah. So let me just go ahead and address this real quick. All right. Let me just go ahead and address this. So, okay, let me go ahead and address this, because this guy clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. So here's the reality, dude. On October 7th, 1,200 people were killed, right? Now, okay, we're going to go into that. So we know that roughly 400 of those people that were killed were IDF, which is enemy combatants, fair game, unfortunately. The loss of life sucks, but that's war, right? So 400 were killed. That leaves us with about 800 total. We know for a fact that at least 200 were killed by the IDF thanks to the Hannibal directive, because they did not want them to be captured, right? And then that leaves us about 600. So at absolute most, Hamas killed 600 people that day. That's obviously a travesty, and it sucks. Hold on, let me finish my point, dude. Let me finish my point. That's obviously horrible. And then another 200 were kidnapped. But the point I'm trying to make is, during the course of the IDF trying to stop the attacks, because remember, they didn't know what the hell was going on. They were shooting tanks into kibbutzes. They were shooting they were using Hellfire missiles shooting at people because they weren't able to identify who the hell was who. A lot of people ended up getting killed by the IDF. Now, when Hamas went in there, their goal is to take hostages. Why?
Oh, so the IDF didn't. So let's say, even like theoretically, if your argument was true, like, which is not, by the way, just let's get that straight. If that argument
is true, that's what happened on October 7th.
Did not kill their own civilians on purpose, which you were saying 30 minutes ago. So now you're already caving. See here,
bro, what the fuck are you? Look. Dude, when they run the Hannibal directive, you gotta understand, they're just shooting at every single car that's making it back to, because they can't afford to have more hostages. So they're shooting at everything, and they don't care who it is, because they're looking at it like whether it's a hostage or a Hamas fighter.
It was pretty obvious whether it was a terrorist or a hostage. It was pretty obvious. Here,
dude, they were killing everybody.
I want you to show me
they
where
were
the
killing
Israeli
everybody.
perpetrator is in this video.
They were killing everybody because they didn't want to have to deal with hostage negotiations. Because whenever they have to deal with hostage negotiations, look up a guy named Khalid Shalit. Look up a guy named Khalid Shalit. He was an IDF soldier. He was an IDF soldier that was captured, and they had to return 1,000 Palestinians to get him back. They don't want to have to do that. And then, like I said before,
we care about our